1 to 3. The morning had barely settled over the city when the towering glass building of Royal Heights Corporation lit up like a sentinel of wealth and impossible ambition, its polished windows catching the first weak rays of dawn as if hoarding even sunlight for itself. And inside its topmost floor walked a man whose presence alone could command silence across boardrooms. Adrian Hale, the cold, calculating, impeccably dressed CEO who had built an empire from the quiet ashes of a painful childhood he never discussed with anyone, not even those who had earned his trust over the years. His employees whispered rumors about him. Some said he'd never smiled since the death of his father. Others said he had no heart at all, and a few even believed he'd given up on love deliberately, burying himself in contracts and steel towers to avoid the warmth and potential heartbreak that came with human closeness. Yet despite his intimidating aura, there existed a strange, unspoken discipline to his routine. Every morning, before the world fully awakened, Adrian stepped out of his limousine, nodded curtly to his personal assistant, and strode through the lobby with the stoic grace of a man determined to outrun something invisible, something heavy, something that kept him moving faster than his past could catch him. Today, however, felt different. Something in the air was off. A faint tug in his chest he couldn't explain. A sense of unease he pushed away as he entered the elevator and pressed the button for the 48th floor, where an avalanche of meetings awaited. But destiny rarely asks permission before rearranging a man's life, and Adrian's was about to shift long before he reached his office. As the elevator doors opened, a small figure stood in the hallway, so tiny, so out of place, her thin arms clutching a worn pink backpack almost bigger than her body. At first, Adrian thought she might be lost, perhaps the child of an employee, but one look into her wide, trembling eyes made his heartbeat falter in a way he hadn't felt in years. The girl, no more than 7, had tear-streaked cheeks, untidy hair braided unevenly, and a soft, quivering voice when she finally spoke. "Sir, are you Mr. Adrian Hale? The guard said you're the boss here." Adrian, who rarely entertained conversation outside business, especially not with children, found himself inexplicably stepping forward, his voice gentler than usual when he replied, "Yes, what are you doing here so early?" The little girl swallowed hard, her fingers twisting the straps of her backpack as though holding herself together by sheer will. And when she opened her mouth again, her voice cracked with fear. "Sir, my mom didn't wake up." The sentence hit him like a truck, knocking the breath out of his lungs in a way no hostile takeover, no corporate scandal, no personal tragedy had done in years. He froze, instant chills racing to his fingertips. He wasn't sure why he was the one she had come to. Why not security? The front desk? 2-3, the police, anyone else? But before he could ask, the girl took a hesitant step closer, her eyes brimming as she whispered, "Please, can you help us? I didn't know who else to come to. She cleans this building at night. She never woke up this morning, and she won't answer. Me and her hands are cold, and I'm so scared." Adrian's veins iced over. Everything inside him tightened sharply. Anger, fear, disbelief, and a strange protective instinct he didn't recognize. He crouched down slowly so his towering presence wouldn't frighten her. But his voice, always steady and ironclad, trembled ever so slightly as he said, "Where is she?" The little girl wiped her nose with the back of her hand and whispered the words that made Adrian's heart pound painfully against his ribs. "At home, sir. In our room. We live in the old workers' housing behind your building. Please, sir, please come. I think my mom is... She couldn't finish. Her voice broke entirely. That was the moment Adrian Hale felt something shatter inside him, an invisible wall he had spent years building, cracking loudly in the quiet hallway. Without thinking, he stood up abruptly, startling his assistant, who had just arrived with a stack of documents. "Cancel everything!" Adrian snapped, his tone so sharp his assistant nearly dropped the papers. "Sir, you have the..." "I said cancel everything," Adrian repeated, his voice low, urgent, and deadly serious. He turned to the girl again, forcing steadiness into his voice. "Show me now." And with that, The ruthless CEO, feared across the industry, untouchable in negotiations. A man no one imagined kneeling to fate, followed. A trembling little girl down the back staircase of his own empire, completely unaware that with every step they took, his life was twisting into a story far bigger than he had ever allowed himself to imagine. And the world watching this story unfold would not be able to look away. If you're reading this and already pulled into the mystery and emotion, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because what's coming next will shake Adrian's past, his future, and every belief he ever held about love, loss, and the price of being human. Stay tuned. This story is only just beginning. Adrian's polished shoes hit the cracked pavement of the workers' housing area with a heavy thud, each step echoing a truth he was not ready to face. The truth that he, a man insulated by penthouse floors and executive privileges, had been blind to the suffering happening just behind his own empire. The early morning air was cold, the kind that bites at the skin and seeps into the bones. But the little girl walking beside him didn't seem to notice. She clutched her backpack tightly, her tiny legs hurrying to keep pace with his long strides, her breathing uneven from a mixture of fear and desperation. The housing block in front of them looked nothing like the shining tower he had built his kingdom in. Instead, it was a cluster of worn-out buildings with peeling 3x3 paint, rusted stair railings, and small windows clouded with dust and neglect. A direct contrast, so sharp it made Adrian feel something unfamiliar in his gut: guilt. He had authorized thousands of maintenance requests over the years, approved budgets without flinching, yet somehow this corner of his workforce had slipped into the shadows, without him ever noticing. The girl stopped suddenly in front of a narrow stairwell, her voice trembling as she whispered, "This way, sir." "She's upstairs." Adrian nodded wordlessly and followed, ducking slightly as the ceiling dipped too low for someone of his height. The hallway smelled faintly of detergent, old fabric, and something far more concerning: stillness. A silence too thick, too heavy, the kind that doesn't belong in a home where a child lives.